You in?
Yeah.
Too much choke, too much choke.
Oh, come on, what's up with it?
Don't panic, it'll be all right. That choke in or out? In, have this belt up, Dad.
You got enough petrol?
Yes.
Here, let me have a go.
Dad!
Come on, let your dad have a go.
What's up? Try that. What, with the battery?
What's up?
Well, it's starting right this morning anyway, don't you?
Look, it's most likely the plug's up.
What's up? The thing won't start.
Well, have you tried the battery?
It looks all right.
Well, the car.
Well, I don't know what that is if it looks.
What are we going to do?
I'll
Find
tell
the
you what.
points.
Oh, don't worry about them. I'll tell you what, I'll try and...
Get a screwdriver.
Give it plenty of choke, Ian, all right?
Never got out there this way.
Hard up. And again.
It ain't gonna go, mate. There's only one thing for it. You have to give it a push start. Great motor, Ian.
Come on, Mum.
We're going to be late. Right, come on, ready? Ready?
Put the clutch, Ian.
Go on, Ian.
During this time, while you were interviewing Mrs. Beale in the station, how would you assess her state of mind?
I thought she seemed shocked, sir.
Crying? Hysterical?
No, sir. Quiet. Just very shocked and upset.
That'll be all. Thank you.
No questions, Your Honour.
Very well, Constable. You may step down.
I now call Mrs. Pauline Fowler.
Well, Dennis sort of shoved her at me and told me to look after her, and then off he went, so I took her indoors.
And then?
Well, I sat her down and I think I put a blanket round her shoulders because, well, she was in a cold sweat. I remember her hands were icy cold.
What about her clothes?
Oh, terrible. Her skirt was all ripped and her blouse was a bit torn and her hair was all over the place.
Did she tell you what had happened?
Well, she could hardly bring herself to say the words, but she told me, yes.
Can you remember her exact words?
Yes. She said Wilmot Brown raped her.
How was she, as she told you this?
I don't know. She wasn't screaming, just sort of sitting and shaking, and it was as though she'd fallen to pieces completely.
How would you describe Mrs. Beale's personality?
Before or after this happened?
Before all this happened.
Well, before. Kathy was one of the most cheerful, sensible people you could ever hope to meet. But since all this, well, she's changed completely. He's ruined her life and my brother's life. Well, it's affected the whole family.
All right, Mrs. Fowler. That will do.
Now then, Mrs. Beale's husband is, what relation to you exactly?
Oh, he's my twin brother.
Your twin brother?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yes, they say that twins are very close. Would you say that was true of you and Mr. Beale?
Oh, definitely, yes.
Yeah, so you do anything for each other, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, well, we're like that, us Beales, you know. Any trouble, we all help each other out.
I see. Including, perhaps, concoct a story if you thought it necessary.
No.
Thank you, Mrs. Fowler. Those are all the questions I have.
No, that's not what I said. This is not a story. I'm telling the truth.
Thank you, Mrs. Fowler. Thank you for coming along. You may listen to the rest of the case from the public gallery, if you wish.
Your Honour, before moving on to forensic and medical evidence, I beg leave to ask the clerk to read out a written statement previously submitted to the committal proceedings, Walford Magistrates Court. The statement is from Mr. Dennis Watts, who is now believed to be deceased, if my learned colleague has no objection.
No objections, Your Honour.
Very well. Read the court, Mr. Watts' evidence.
This is a statement made by Dennis Watts of number 47 Albert Square, East 20. The statement was taken down by Detective Inspector Gray of Walford CID in the presence of WPC Baxter at 10:30 a.m. on July the 8th, 1988. Last night, July the 7th, I worked as usual in the wine bar and shut up shop at midnight. Then I stood on the pavement outside the front, which is in Turpin Road, to get a breath of air, and spotted James Wilmot Brown running like a bat out of hell.
Your Honour, that is the case for the prosecution.
Your Honour, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I appear in this case on behalf of the defendant. I shall not keep you long. The prosecution's case has demonstrated far better than I ever could the weaknesses of the charge against my client. Now, I'm sure that once you've heard him speak, and can judge for yourselves the kind of man he is, you'll see that what we've been hearing about over the last couple of days is a simple act of adultery, to which my client freely admits. I will show that the charge of rape was only later trumped up by Mrs. Beale in an attempt to appease an irate husband, and that my client has merely been the hapless victim of the Beales' marital problems. Thank you. Call James Wilmot Brown.
Take the book in your right hand and read the words on the card.
I swear by Almighty God that the evidence I shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Oh, whose idea was it to take the drinks upstairs?
It was mutual. Neither of us said anything. It was understood.
Because of the nature of the relationship?
Yes.
And how would you describe that relationship?
Warm, friendly. It was obvious we were both very attracted to each other.
And so this business of taking drinks upstairs after work, was it something that happened often?
Oh, good Lord, no. But on this particular occasion, with our husband away, we were able to.
Her husband was the jealous sort, was he?
Definitely.
And so what happened when you got upstairs?
We went into the sitting room. Kathy sat on the sofa, and she asked if I'd put some music on.
She asked, did she?
Yes, there was a record she wanted to hear.
Ah, this would be the Smoochy record that we heard about earlier, yes?
Yes.
And what happened then?
Oh, we talked for a bit, and I went to get the champagne.
And how did Mrs. Beale react to that?
The champagne? She seemed excited. She said she felt like getting a bit squiffy and letting her hair down for a change.
And how much did you both drink?
Well, we had the whiskey and then we drank the champagne. But I'd say she drank considerably more than me.
And why was this?
Well, she was in that sort of a mood. Reckless, knocking it back, laughing a lot, you know. I think she probably had a bit too much, to tell the truth.
And now tell me, was there anything in particular about her behaviour that led you to believe that she'd had too much?
Yes, she became amorous.
And how could you tell that?
Oh, she was snuggling up, telling me how attractive she found me, how she preferred my company to Pete.
He's lying! He's lying through his teeth! Cat, is that true?
Sit down and keep quiet on the public benches, please. If you can't restrain yourselves, I shall have to send you out, as I did yesterday. I think, Clark, we might break here for luncheon.
Rice?
Mr. Wilmot Brown, you'll bear with me, I hope, if I ask you a few questions of a rather more general nature. As a boy, did you have sisters?
No, I was an only child.
And is it true that from the age of 7 you were sent away to single-sex boarding schools until the age of 18?
Yes.
And then, as you've already told the court, you joined the army and went to Sandhurst?
Yes.
How old were you when you were married?
20.
And had you had many girlfriends before this?
No, she was my first girlfriend.
Mr. Wickham, is all this really necessary?
Your Honour, I have one further question in this direction.
Oh, well.
I merely wish to ask the witness whether he has had many women friends since his divorce 4 years ago.
No, I've been far too busy.
So you grew up and spent your early adult life almost exclusively in male company. You married the first girl that you met. The marriage was a failure. And since then you have avoided further entanglement. Mr. Wilmot Brown, I suggest that you are a man who has never had a successful relationship with a woman. So that when Mrs. Beale, who is a most attractive young woman, came into your employment, you developed a schoolboy crush on her. And when she repelled your advances, your resentment and your ignorance of the female sex, together with your sexual frustration, led you to rape her.
Very clever. But no. Absolutely no. I don't wish to appear crude, but frankly, she couldn't wait to get her knickers off.
You lie! What did you tell him the truth?